planet.
One of the most important conversation is energy poverty. That's the theme of this conference, right? How do you eradicate energy poverty by the year 2030? As you know, about 600 million Africans do not have access to electricity, and about 900 million Africans do not have access to clean cooking. This is all known statistics, right? So you have that, and to balance that with the requirement for an energy transition, which basically is a reduction in the CO2 in the environment. Unfortunately or fortunately, Africa only contributes less than 3% of the carbon of CO2 as we speak. So how do you balance the need for continued development of the resources which are vast in Africa, oil, gas, without damaging the environment? And what's the right balance for a continent like Africa that needs the development, that needs the funding to be also to finance technology to eradicate or to address the climate change issue. So it's really finding the fair balance between the two, and these are all culminate towards the discussions that will be held at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh.
Vai calma, pagando 50-22.
Load shedding continues to frustrate people. I get frustrated by load shedding, very much so. Leave the issue that people say we have no load shedding. Actually, I've experienced load shedding many times everywhere I go, including my own place. So load shedding is actually frustrating. But no access to electricity is worse. At least now we have 87 plus percent of our people accessing electricity. All we should invest in, it goes to the question of the units that have been broken down, those units need to be maintained in service. We have a gap of about 20,000 megawatts of units connected but not giving us energy.
The rest of the world in transitioning to green is going to create an energy crisis. We are sitting in an energy crisis, and greening our economy gives us an opportunity to create jobs, to grow the economy, and to have a sustainable future. So I really do think that Africa's opportunity is now.
We see the adverse impact of climate change. It's real, right? On the continent, we see what's happening with the flooding. Even in my home country of Nigeria, it's been flooding in several states recently, and I just only found out yesterday that South Sudan, for example, half of the country appears to have been flooded. I didn't know that. So climate change is actually very real in the continent. We suffered the most adverse impacts of it, right? So I understand that. However, the need to transition needs to be taken into account of, I keep saying it, the requirements for development on the continent, right? I see a situation where, most of the reports you see from the IEA or from other sources indicate that the transition will happen in the next 10 years, 15 years. It should happen sooner, right? But in all likelihood, given some of the geopolitical issues that we're now seeing, it looks like that timeline has been elongated another 10, 15 years. So let's just assume we have a 30-year window. How does Africa effectively monetize those resources in a clean, sustainable fashion?
At a time when some people are even ashamed to talk about the working energy, we need to be proud. Be proud that during COVID-19, we stood up and gave this industry some hope. Be proud that during COVID-19, we drove that energy, that moved medicines, vaccines from around the world.
We're looking how we can transition in a just manner, right? A transition that will be bespoke, customized, and will favor African countries. In order to do that, there's a talk around financing, right? And my saying is, as someone who finances or controls the financing of the development of a resource, also controls the resource. So you look at the continent in itself, about 87% of all our financing comes from the global north. including Asia, which is Europe and Americas and Asia. So African countries within the African continent or African economic units have to come together and really try and pull some of that financing and control it, have it in their hands, which can progress or advance the total consensus of the continent. And even you look at the production, you have about 67% of production in Africa, oil and gas production, being controlled by foreign companies. So that dictates the direction of the development.
We believe that South Africa is actually blessed with endowments, same load factors for renewables and solar, that puts us as a competitive producer of green hydrogen going forward. So our partnership today with ArcelorMittal focuses on two elements. In Saldanha, where they already have a plant, our intention is to revitalize the plant to be able to produce green hydrogen. And going forward, we'll also be able, as part of that green hydrogen production, we'll be able to export green ammonia. Markets such as Asia and Europe, as part of their global decarbonization strategies, are looking at hubs like Southern Africa for the supply of green hydrogen as well as related derivatives. In Vaal and Sasolburg, we already have at Sasol our plant that is producing chemicals. And our intention is to do a study to see whether we can capture the carbon from their unavoidable carbon and be able to transmit it and be able to utilize it on our plant to produce sustainable fuels as well as sustainable products such as e-methanol. This will be a huge opportunity for supply to OR Tambo, but also for the external markets such as Asia again and Europe as well.
We were there at the birth of both Sasol and AMSA, so it's very exciting for us today to see them signing the MOU. Our focus and our industrialization mandate is about creating sustainable industrial development and jobs. So you can't think about sustainability without thinking about the greening of the economy. So our focus is very much not on greening our book or greening our balance sheet, but looking at how we can ensure that we create a green and sustainable South African industrial and manufacturing base. We've got an incredible private sector with amazing skills, technologies and capabilities to build and design these projects. Within the IDC, we've always had a very strong project development focus, where we get involved from early scoping stage, working with partners in developing these projects. And we are leading the hydrogen commercialization through the hydrogen panel under the mandate of Minister Patel. And that hydrogen commercialization strategy is focused on ensuring that we build the ecosystem around green hydrogen, which is a similar approach we've taken in other green industries, to ensure that we identify the skills necessary to create sustainable value chains into the future. So we do need to think about how we skill people and reskill people to actually work in these industries of the future. So unfortunately, COVID had a significant negative impact on that, as well as some of the delays in the REAP program. So we had a number of investments in the solar value chain investments, looking to localize and produce the component parts in South Africa. Some of those businesses were not successful because of COVID and the delays in REAP. However, with the climate deal that was announced last year and the development of the country investment plan to support that, we are seeing the opportunity for significant value chains to be created. We now have got a significant pipeline of both public and private sector projects to deliver not only on electricity, but also on green hydrogen. And through that, we believe that there's a significant opportunity for localization. Furthermore, with the greening of the economy, maybe take a step back, with the enormous opportunity to position ourselves as a green industrial provider, we have the opportunity to build green industries into the future. So we no longer believe that we need to be the cheapest producer. We do believe we have the opportunity to be the greenest producer, and as a result become a significant global supply chain player. The major challenges are our licensing and regulatory environment that isn't always, and delivery of the regulatory environment. So we've got a very mature regulatory environment, and we don't always deliver with speed in licensing and enabling business to function efficiently. So what was very important was the President's announcement of the red tape cutting, to ensure that we do cut red tape and that we can fast track the licensing of projects so that we can actually move into the implementation and unlocking opportunities. I really do think that government needs to create the enabling environment for private sector to run, because private sector does have the means, the financial means, the technical means to actually develop a number of these projects, and we really do need to enable them to be globally successful.
In Namibia, we are a little bit different from other nations. We have a national strategy that we've adopted to say that we're trying to be a zebra stripe, which means that we're trying to make sure that women are given an equal opportunity as men in terms of them being in industry. The benefit that we are reaping from that as a country, I'm a leader, we are having the ability to be able to take to the fore and be able to make decisions that have a wider impact and be able to take into consideration social issues and other issues that society as a whole can be able to benefit that. I really would call upon all other nations to really ensure that you take the women must be given an equal opportunity or even better opportunity to, in terms of leadership, because they really can be able to provide a more robust approach in terms of business management and providing the tools that are required to ensure that there's success. And success, I don't mean only by being profit-driven, but I mean by taking into consideration everything so that the elements that are needed for a successful organization are taken into play so that there's value that is generated for the whole society as a whole.
I'm from Ghana, right? And I like soccer, right? And we call our soccer team the Black Stars, right? We always say Ghana's going to the World Cup this year, so we're happy about that. But we say Africans are a black shining star, right? So we are the star which you may try and overlook, but we see ourselves as a shining star where one day we're really going to brighten the world. Africa is going to be the region that will carry the world in a couple of decades, if not in the next century, because you have every resource here. You have so much unexplored areas in terms of oil and gas, but not only fossil fuels, but you look at the global potential for renewables. You have 32% in Africa, so that's almost a third of the world, right? So you look at everything, whether it's energy, whether it's resources, whether it's human capital. Africa has the youngest population in the world, right? You look at across the board, what you need for the world to function comes from Africa, and it is just going to become more dominant in affecting, the geopolitics, right? So my vision for Africa, or the way I see Africa developing, is it's going to become a strong powerhouse in the world. And also, not only that, Africa, we have borders, right? Africans don't travel within Africa, we travel outside Africa. So I see African countries becoming more of a stronger union. And when that happens, right, there's no telling where we can be.